you are a current WagerTalk TV subscriber, a fan of the extensive amount of free betting information we release, or a client of one of our incredible lineup of handicappers at WagerTalk or Sports Memo, we thank you. Thanksgiving is a holiday loaded with traditions, and we started one of our traditions years ago. Get a 7-day all sports all access from any handicapper for just $69. That's under $10 per day and just $10 more than a 3-day all access. So whether you're traveling, have a house full of relatives, or just sitting back relaxing with an incredible week of sports, you can do so with the convenience of a 7-day pass. There's no coupon needed, and you can choose as many services as you'd like. This Thanksgiving special will be available through Cyber Monday, November 28th, all for just $69. Thank you again for being part of the WagerTalk and Sports Memo family.
Happy Tuesday, guys. Welcome to WagerTalk TV. I am Carmine Bianco. This is Stoppage Time, the World Cup edition. I'm going to say it right off the top of the show, guys. If you had Saudi Arabia today against Argentina, I would love to borrow a few bucks from you, because what an absolute upset to kick off match day one on Tuesday. Saudi Arabia with the 2-1 victory over one of the World Cup favorites, Argentina. And I saw some prices across the board on Saudi Arabia as high as 21-1 to win the game. An unbelievable result, and probably the first shocker of the day. But there's been some other surprises, and let's bring in the crew from Sports Memo, Pavlos, Laguretos, and from WagerTalk.com, Nick Borrman and Kevin Dolan. Guys, we are 3 days into this, and I got to say a few surprises. If you want to look at them, you can look at the opening day game, Qatar and Ecuador. Not really a surprise, but if you were a totals better, 2 goals in the first half, the total is 2, and it stays it pushes on the total. If you were an under better like I was, you're pretty happy about it. Netherlands, 85th minute. They get the win, and then in the 94th minute, they get the cover on anyone who had -1. Wales, I know for you guys watching in the U.S., that was a penalty, but that wasn't the best officiating we're going to see. That was probably the worst officiating we're going to see in the World Cup, or at least let's hope it is, in a 1-1 draw for the U.S. They've got England next, and then they will finish it off with Iran, USA-Iran. That's got to be a doozy of a game. And then, of course, England, I didn't expect them to roll 6-2 over Iran. I had the under in that game. I thought it was going to be a game that played closer to the vest, kind of like the Tunisia-Denmark game that just finished 0-0. And even the Argentina game, that was pretty tight, even though there was quite a few opportunities. Boys, any surprises for you guys? Kev, I'm going to go to you first.
Well, I was about to correct you, Carmine, because when you said it was the first shocker of the tournament, Saudi Arabia winning, it wasn't to me, because as you said, England scoring 6 goals in 90 minutes was the first shocker of the tournament for me. I don't know where that came out of. We started off the tournament 3-1 over the first 4 games, but the one loser over that stretch was at a 5% play on Iran plus 1.5, which sucked a bit. But, look, I'm pretty happy overall. 3-1. We split today's first 2 games. We're on Tunisia plus 1 just there. And we also had Argentina to win to 0, which looked good early. But, Saudi Arabia got in there. So, yeah, pretty happy with how the tournament's going on. But, yeah, definitely the biggest shocker. Well, the biggest shocker is Saudi Arabia. But for me, I did not envision 6-2 in that game between England and Iran.
Yeah, I didn't either. I get it. 2018 World Cup, they did put a beating in the group stages on Panama, but that was Panama, a team that probably shouldn't have even been in the World Cup. Kind of backed into it when the USA crapped on the final match day of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying, and pretty much everyone beat up on Panama. Iran are supposed to be a much better defensive team, but they just fell apart. I can't explain that game. I would bet the under there in all likelihood 9 out of 10 times and not expect to see a 6-2 result again. Nick, USA, what can you tell us?
USA, I took Wales. So I, did the un-American thing and bet against the Americans because my money has no allegiance. And I just knew that game was going to play out the way it did, where it was going to be tight and it was going to be most likely a draw. I know Kevin was on a draw. Several people were on a draw, which made a lot of sense. I thought Wales might have a chance to actually win the game. So I just went with the safer way and just took them plus a half a goal. So happy with the result, and US. I mean, we knew that game. I mean, that was the most important game for both teams in the group, right? If somebody was going to win, it was going to be very hard for the other team to qualify out of that. So now that they both played to that draw, if one of them gets a result against England, they're most likely going to be able to get in there, assuming, of course, they can handle business against Iran. So I guess my wallet's happy to see what the result of that game, but I guess my heart really would rather have had USA win, kind of one of those heart versus brain type of a match. But looking forward to moving on today. It was 2-1 to start, and then today lost both games so far. Argentina, I took score bans. So it was either they could win by 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and obviously that didn't work out. And then I was on a very small play on Denmark just to win. I knew Tunisia would be tough, and that's why I didn't want to lay the goal, but I thought they would figure out a way to get that goal, and shoot, they could have had a penalty right there at the end of the game to steal that. But it is what it is. We got one more play for the day, and hopefully we can go on, and then got a big 5% play going on Thursday to close out match day 1.
All right. I'd like to hear it. Get some wins. Kev, it is a long tournament, 64 games, man. You're gonna get way more wins than losses. I'm not worried about it. Speaking of one of my favorite people, Pavlos, this officiating, these yellow cards. Have you been playing any of these props before we get into the 3 games today?
Yeah, I've been playing some props, and I do have one prop for tonight's, the one of the 2 remaining matches for today. To be honest, guys, I was gutted today. I was destroyed today. I had a 5% on Argentina. I took a teaser minus 1.75. I said, okay, maybe they win by 2. I just want to get half a win. The match starts. It was 12, local time here. I woke up with a nice attitude. I got my coffee. I opened the match. Messi scores in the first half. Great, I say, very nice. And then Argentina have 3 disallowed goals. Yes, there were offsides, but, still it's 3 disallowed goals. And at the start of the second half, they somehow conceded back-to-back goals against Saudi Arabia. Am I on drugs? I'm not on drugs, but I feel like I'm on drugs, or I should be on drugs, because this is not happening. This is not happening. And then, okay, I had a 4% on Denmark. On Denmark, yes, Tunisia. Yes, Tunisia, man. Who are they? Who are they? Yes, they have a couple of good players. Yes, they destroyed Denmark in that first half, or the first, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes or so. But a goalless draw. Did anyone see the finishing, the last minutes of that match? This was a clear penalty kick. A clear penalty kick. So I consider myself robbed. I considered everybody who bought my place robbed. If I went back in time, I'd still make the same bets, no doubt. And I guess my World Cup starts tomorrow.
Hey, listen, tomorrow's a new day, man. I feel like I'm in the role of Dr. Phil today and asking people how they feel. So my apologies to you. What we will do is we're going to talk about 3 different games. We're going to talk about a game, all 2 p.m. games today, tomorrow, and Thursday's game. So we're going to look at France and Australia. We're going to look at Belgium, Canada. And then we're going to look at Brazil and Serbia. And when we get to the Belgium-Canada one, Dan, our producer, I want you to have your hand on the eject button because I'm looking for some Canadian support from this crew on the show today. But with that said, let's get right to it, guys. France and Australia. This one is at 2 p.m. Eastern time today. The odds on this one, France a minus 393. The draw is plus 500. Australia, a juicy plus 1141. Excuse me, Nick, I'm going to go to you first on this one. I want to hear the thoughts from you guys on this game. So give me your thoughts on France, Australia.
Well, first, I would say I can't imagine many people don't expect France to win. Sort of like the Argentina game, nobody expected Saudi Arabia to win. Of course, Australia could cover this game, which is what I do think could happen here at plus 1.5 goals. France, I'm honestly a little surprised they didn't play a friendly as a warm-up for this week, considering the last time we saw them, it was Nations League, and I know that's just one step up from friendlies, but they recorded one single win in those matches. They didn't look good. They were fielding good lineups. It's not like they weren't trying to win those games. They finished well behind Croatia and Denmark in that group. And then, of course, they had a major setback in training this past week with Karim Benzema set to make his World Cup return after missing out in 2018, and then he gets ruled out of this entire tournament with a quad injury. So that certainly hurt some. He's Mbappe obviously is a big scoring threat for them, but when you add Benzema to that scoring attack and having two guys up there makes it really hard to focus on the defense to focus on one of them. But regardless, I still expect France to win this game. They're easily the better team. I don't think I have to get into too many details about their roster. For Australia, if you look at the players on that team, most of them play in the Australian A-League, but they do have some European players, several in the Scottish Premiership, plus a few in the England Championship and Italian Serie A. So they have some decent guys on the roster, and they've had a decent run-up to this World Cup. 5 straight wins, including 3 friendlies, and those final 2 qualifying matches just to get into to this World Cup. They had to beat the United Arab Emirates and then Peru in the playoff. In Asian qualifying, which, of course, albeit it's a far cry from what France is going to experience in Europe, they did finish 3rd in the group. They had just 3 losses in 10 matches, only one of them that they didn't really get together in any sort of friendly match, so I don't have a great read on them. I'll be honest and say this one is not on my card, but if I am betting this one today, I'm going to slightly go to Australia to play this close and keep it cover at plus 1.5 goals. I do expect France to win, and maybe another way to look at it is France to win by exactly 1 goal. I think it's going to be tight, but France probably finds a way, but I like Australia to cover plus 1.5.
All right, that's Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com. Guys, I'm going to have a 2-for-1 deal before the show's over. Nick, I'm going to throw one question right back at you, sort of a rebuttal, not a rebuttal, but sort of a follow-up question, which is, I always think in these tournaments, you want to face, if you're a team, you're not the best team in the group, but you're looking to qualify, you want to face the best team in the group on match day 1. That's probably the best time to catch them when they're not at their best, because a lot of the good teams usually build throughout a tournament. Do you think that strategy holds any water?
Well, I think it's from a player's perspective, yeah, and the fact that you have nothing to lose, right? You're not expected to win. You're expected to go in there and not get a point out of it. So if you sneak anything right off the bat, how good do you feel sitting there after match day 1 with a point in your pocket or 3 points like Saudi Arabia, and now you're sitting there in the driver's seat in a chance to qualify versus playing them in the final game? They've had the good team that is, had a couple tune-up games, and now you need a win or even a point. That's a tough spot to be in. So, yeah, I actually agree with that. I do like the idea that you get the tough team out of the way and then maybe sneak something out, but what matters is the next couple of games, and you get a little, call it a warm-up, if you will, underway. So, yeah, I do like that.
All right, good. We agree on something, Nick. Kev, I'm going to go to you next on this one. You look at France. They had that fantastic 2018 World Cup. The Euros, not so great for them. Their lineup looks a little bit different. Their midfield obviously looks different with no Pogba, no Kante. Does this change in lineup and just not having that same chemistry factor in at all to you? Give me your thoughts on this game.
Not that much, Carmine, because we've seen what happened with England, obviously, when they made those changes. It kind of freshened them up. It could happen with France as well. Nick made some good points in regards to the point spread. Not sure I trust the French here, having to win by multiple goals, but saying that, look, you know all the issues surrounding the French team right now. No Benzema, no Kante, no Pogba, as you guys mentioned. But this team, they're just stacked so deep. Even if every first team member was out here, and the French had to play with effectively a B team against Australia, Giroud for Benzema, for instance, I'd still take France B all day long over this Australia team. Australia just aren't very good. I watched them, if we go back to the World Cup 2006, which I wasn't around in like 1972, whenever the last time they qualified, but so 2006 is the first time I seen Australia on the big stage. I was really impressed with them. I mean, you must remember them, Carmine, because they came very close to unseating Italy in that round of 16. They played really well in that game. But then again, they had great players, proven Premier League talent. What was it? Mark Schwarzer, Tim Cahill, Mark Viduka, Harry Kuehl, and so on. Who has this team got now? I follow the Scottish Premier League, Premiership. Aaron Moy, Martin Boyle. I can't see anything other than a comfortable French victory, later tonight. Australia got through qualifying, as Nick mentioned, facing the likes of Vietnam, Oman, UAE. And as he also said, they still only managed to finish third in that group. So I just can't. I know we've seen a big shock with Saudi Arabia, obviously, over Argentina earlier in the day, but I just can't. There's such a massive, massive gulf between where these two teams are at. So I have no problem, as high as the line is, throw France into a parlay tonight with some other team you like. I just do not see France losing this game. So, but I'm going to swerve the handicap because they might just show up here, completely dominate the game, win 1-0, shut up shop, and go home with a win. So I don't want to be laying multiple goals here, but I expect this to be fairly one-sided here tonight and the French to get a comfortable victory in the process.
All right, Kevin Dolan, Wager Talk, and yeah, I remember that Australia-Italian game with the sort of the mystery penalty. I don't know where that penalty came from, but they got the Italians through. And you're talking about France setting up, getting out 1-0 and setting up shop. We saw that in the semifinals of the World Cup against Belgium. They scored early and pretty much closed up shop there, and that game finished 1-0. I had a lot of the Belgian players, including Kevin De Bruyne, talking about how they came to play football and France didn't, because they basically set up shop and played defense the rest of the way and held that 1-0 right to the end. Pavlos, I like Kevin's idea that it would be great for a big France victory because I have Kylian Mbappe to win the Golden Boot award, so at plus 800. So I would love to hit that or get off to with three or four goals on match day one. What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, your bet certainly makes sense, especially now with Benzema out of the way. Logically speaking, Mbappe should have more goal-scoring opportunities. However, Giroud is going to take a lot of hit, a lot of interest in this French offense, and I do actually my play involves Giroud, but. Actually, I wanted to say, Kevin said something about Aaron Moy, and to be honest, I have a 1% prop on Aaron Moy to have at least one shot on target tonight. There's all kinds of reasons why I like that, but I just wanted to say kudos for mentioning his name. Now, as far as France, I don't trust him here. This midfield with Rabiot and who is it, Tchouaméni is probably going to start is way off, from other competitions where they had Kante and Pogba as at least two of those people in the midfield. Now their midfield looks weak, and it won't be long before they have like an unexpected draw or a bad game against Australia before they implode in the locker room. So I don't trust this French team at all in this tournament. I really don't know what to expect of this French side. Maybe this could be a 2-0 win. Maybe Mbappe scores in both halves at plus 800. You can see it on DraftKings or whatever. However, my pick revolves around Olivier Giroud. At plus 110, I'm picking him to score anytime. I think he's going to, all the Australian defense is going to have their focus on containing Mbappe. It's going to be really hard, if not impossible, to contain Mbappe. And that will leave Olivier Giroud, room to operate. And he doesn't really. He needs just one, maybe two touches to score. He's a lethal striker. Just give him a nice pass and he's going to turn it into a goal. So I like Olivier Giroud to score at plus 110 here.
Love it, Pavlos. Best of luck to you. Guys, before we head into our next game, I want to tell you about the promo that we have up on the show. It's the buy one, get one package. You can buy 1 month of soccer for $199 and you'll get a second month free, basically knocking it down to $99 a month, and that'll cover you right through the end of the World Cup and into the first 3 weeks of the new year, of course. Nick's got a 5% play up for Thursday. I've got one up for Friday as part of $2 Tuesdays. And I'm sure Kev and Pavlos will have a lot of plays throughout this World Cup. So that is a great deal. Head over to their pages and you'll find the special there, the buy one, get one promo package. All right, guys. Dan, producer Dan, get your hand on the eject button as we go into this next game. It is Belgium and Italy. Sorry, Belgium and Canada. I'm no longer Italian. I'm Canadian on this show until we qualify for the World Cup. With that said, the odds on this one. Actually, I want to apologize. Let's put the leans from the last game. I keep muffing on this one. Our producer is going to cut me off and eject me. Nick is on Australia plus 1.5. Pavlos on Giroud to score plus 110, and Kevin France use them in parlays, he says. And there's a few games tomorrow that you can obviously grab France and put them in an accumulator with some of those games that go tomorrow. Now let's go to Belgium and Canada. I apologize for that. The odds on this one, Belgium minus 197. The draw is plus 341. Canada plus 538. Totals at 2.5. Kev, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Give me your thoughts on this game. I'm going to reserve judgment on this one because I have a little bit of bias, but I'm also looking at it much like what I talked to Nick about on that previous game. You want to face the best team in your group on match day one, and that's what Canada's doing here in facing Belgium. Give me your thoughts on this game.
I'm going to look towards taking the over in this one, Carmine. Belgium were goal machines during their qualifying run last year. They put up an average of 3.13 goals per game over that run, 88% of which, and this is important, came from open play as well. I always like to see that. So, even without Lukaku here, Belgium have more than enough talent in this roster, to cause this Canadian defense some problems here. And, on the other side, Canada, who admittedly did somewhat struggle away from home over their qualifying run, they still averaged the group's highest goal return at 1.64 goals per game on average. So, Alphonso Davies looks to be starting here tomorrow night, tentatively at least. And, that would be a huge boon to this Canada side if he does. He's just so dangerous down that left flank. But, no matter who starts here, I do expect there to be goals in this game tomorrow night. So I like Belgium, lean Belgium from a side perspective. I'm not going to lay this price, but with 5 of Canada's last 6 games overall featuring at least two first half goals. I like that to continue here. So, give me a bit of the over 2.5 here. That's what I've circled for tomorrow.
Unmuting myself. I apologize there. Kev, listen, I like that play, Kev. I'm looking at it, and Alphonso Davies says he's ready to go for the first game. This Canadian team does have talent that's playing in Europe, as Jonathan David as well, too. I think who finished second in the Uber Eats League One scoring last year. I'm not sure if he finished second or third, but he was right up there. But as far as the speed goes, you've got Alphonso Davies on one side. You got Tejan Buchanan if he starts on the other side. There's plenty of speed on this Canadian side to try and get behind those that Belgium back line. So we'll see what happens. Nick, I'm going to go to you next on this one. Straightforward Belgium's for you, or are you siding with your friends north of the border?
I do think Belgium will win this game. I don't think it's necessarily going to be straightforward. Canada, they were the surprise of many, finishing first in that CONCACAF qualifying, beating both U.S. and Mexico on points. Their squad includes a slew of MLS players, but they also have plenty of guys on European rosters. You already mentioned the big names, Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David. They got guys playing in Turkey, Portugal, Belgium. So they have a lot of class. You compare that to the Belgium squad, though. There's a reason these guys were sitting at the number 1 poll world ranking for a long time. But they did just lose that after the latest Nations League. They lost twice to Netherlands during their group there. But Kevin De Bruyne, best midfielder on the planet. You got so many great supporting players. You got the Hazard brothers, Eden and Thorgan. You got Alex Witsel, Yannick Carrasco, and Yuri Tielemans. Even Thomas Meunier from Bayern. They have just a plethora of talent, and when you look at that squad on paper, everybody's been expecting them to win and win and to win, and they just haven't, right? But what they tend to do is they do very well in qualifying. right? And I think even in this group stage situation, I think they'll do very well. When it gets to the pressure situation, when I'm talking about the knockout rounds, that's where we've seen them choke. That's where we've seen them crap out. That's when they start to get up against the best squads in the world. They just aren't performing. But against the mediocre, or especially the weaker teams, they're doing exactly what you expect them to do. And Canada is more of a mediocre team than they are a weaker team. They're definitely on the rise, but they're not to the level of some of these major European teams. And Belgium is still that level. So I think it's going to be a Belgium win. I don't love laying the goal. I think it's actually priced pretty well at that price because it very likely could just result on a 1-goal win and a push. But I don't see anything but a Belgium win in this game. So uncomfortably, I guess I'll say I'll lay the goal on Belgium. I just don't know if we'll quite get there. It's kind of like Netherlands yesterday. I laid off Netherlands. I didn't know if they would quite get to that 2-goal win. Of course they did. And maybe we see something similar to that here where it's tight a lot of the game and then maybe Belgium pulls away late. So, but comfortably or uncomfortably rather, I'll lay the goal with Belgium. I think they'll win the game. Hopefully they can win by more than one.
All right, Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com, and don't forget he does have a 5% play up for the World Cup on Thursday. Pavlos, last word on this game to you. Can you remind Nick who finished first in qualifying for the World Cup in CONCACAF in a group that included Mexico and the USA?
Yeah, but that group also featured Nicaragua and Honduras and teams like that. However, Canada has a lot of talent, as you guys said. They have a lot of speed, and that's where I'm focusing, the speed, because you got Davis on one side and David on the other side. I'm not sure if you're going to play opposite sides, but who's going to guard them? If you look at this Belgium defense, they have two very, very slow and aging center backs in Alderweireld and Vertonghen. We used to see these players play together in Tottenham. They were good, maybe 5 years ago, but now they're 33 and 35 years old, respectively. Still, solid defenders, but they're slow as heck. And this Canada side is surely gonna, expose their weakness in that area. So I do see goals here. I totally agree with Kevin's play on the over 2.5 goals. Of course, Belgium on a good night, they can drop 3 on their own and just get pay us really nice just by themselves. But I do think that Canada can get on the score sheet. I don't really think they can take anything from this match because, yes, they do have talent, they do have speed, but they don't have experience. And the Belgium, anything other than a win here would be a catastrophic result. Because it's a very, very tricky group, who's to say that if they drop points against Canada, who's to say that they won't drop against Morocco or Croatia? So very dangerous group. I do see Belgium winning here, but I think their defense is in for a rough night. So I like the over 2.5 goals at is it minus 135, minus 130? I think that's about it.
All right, Pavlos Laguretos of Sports Memo. Let's have a look at the recap of these games, Canada and Belgium, up on the screen. Nick's on Belgium, -1, -120. Pavlos and Kev both like over 2.5. Guys, before we get to the third and final game, which is the Thursday fixture between Brazil and Serbia, I want to mention that it's Tuesday, so obviously it is $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. $2 Tuesdays where you can get a featured cappers play for only $2. These are plays that normally go for $25 or $35, along with some great promos. At WagerTalk, it's yours truly. I will be the $2 capper, and I have a play up in the World Cup, a 5% play up for Friday, and a great run across all sports, 17, 1, and 2 over my last 20 plays. NHL is really heating up, 23 and 4 run for me there in NHL as well too. So take advantage of some of those deals. And then over at Sports Memo, it is Dion D'Amico with an NHL play, Rocky with an NBA play, and then Pavlos, good old Pavlos, who will have, I'm guessing, a World Cup play up as well too. Pavlos, I'm going to go to you really quickly before we get to the next game. Is it going to be a World Cup play as part of your $2 Tuesday at Sports Memo?
Yes, of course it's going to be. I'm just waiting for this show to be over. I'm going to be loading it right after the show, and you'll see, tweets and all kinds of stuff about it.
You better hurry up and get that to Melissa, or Dan will hit the eject button before we finish this show. But let's get on to the third and final game, guys. But this is a good one. Two very good teams, and two teams I actually think are going to both come out of this group. It's Brazil and Serbia. Brazil minus 213. The draw is plus 347, and Serbia plus 601. The total here is 2.5 as well, too. Kev, I'm going right back to you again for this one. Give me your thoughts on this one. The World Cup favorites, Brazil, and you got Serbia, who are 80-1 to win this tournament. Match day one.
Yeah, we said in the preview show, I like both of these teams to go far in the competition. Because of that, and I mean, it's going to be funny because you're going to look at both of these lineups, but I'm going to take a look at the under in this one. I have a feeling this is going to be one of those games where, like I said, you're looking at the roster, you're going to see Neymar, Vinicius Jr., Vlahovic, and so on, and, the real automatic response is going to be goals. But like, how many times have we seen this, on paper at least, two absolute offensive juggernauts? I remember a few seasons ago, PSG, Bayern Munich Champions League final, everyone thought it'd be a runaway goal fest, and it finishes up 1-0. So that's what generally seems to happen. I think neither team will want to open the other one up here, knowing how effective they are in attack. I think they're both going to be content to sit back and wait for an opening. So I do think we see an under here. Head coach Chichi, TT, whichever part of Brazil you're from, has said he's going for a more conservative approach anyway in this game. In a recent interview, makes sense, obviously. Serbia arguably do present the biggest threat to Brazil in this group. And as a result, rumours are already circulating that Brazil will opt to sacrifice a striker in this game, in order to shore up that midfield area. And Vinicius Jr. looks like the most likely candidate to get dropped here. So, with the conservative play style likely taking place, and the fact, look, Brazil allowed a ridiculously low 0.29 goals per game during qualifying as well. I mean, that's unbelievable. I think this will be a cagey, low-scoring type of affair here on Thursday night. With, look, Serbia are going to respond in kind. They're certainly not going to punch Brazil in the mouth looking for an open game here. So I like the under on Thursday between Brazil and Serbia. I think both teams carry such, it's like a nuclear war. When you've got such, two potent attacking threats, neither side wants to start a war. So I don't think we're going to see a very free-flowing game here. And I like the under 2.5 on Thursday in this one.
All right, Kevin Dolan of WagerTalk.com. And yeah, Serbia lineup, throughout that lineup and on the bench, some very good players. Obviously, Vlahovic, who's scoring goals. In Italy, Mitrovic, you got Tadic, you got Jovic, you got quite a few, Milinkovic. There's a ton of players on that team. Let's go to Nick, because it rhymes with every single name that I just mentioned. Give me your thoughts, Nick.
Well, I'm glad he came to me next, because I am a 100% disagreement with my buddy Kevin on this one. I would agree perhaps a more cagey affair under is the play if we're looking at one of these as a knockout meeting. But being in the group stage here, I don't see that happening. I think this is a game where Serbia don't expect to get anything from this game, as we talked about in that first matchup. Carmine, you asked me that question. I think they would be fine to try to figure out a way to get a point out of this game. And do you really think they're going to do it defensively? I mean, you look at the defense of this team, they're okay, but Kevin, you were right about the fact that their lineup is based on their attacking trio up front, which arguably might want to be one of the most dangerous in this World Cup. So I think if they have any chance of doing that against Brazil, it's going to have to come on the front foot of them scoring goals. So if we look back at just some recent results from these guys, you look at Serbia. They won their Nations League group this past fall, which is League B. So now they'll be playing up in League A with the big boys. But they only kept 2 clean sheets out of 6 matches there. And you're talking about teams Sweden, Norway, and Slovenia. Obviously, all a far cry from what Brazil can do with the ball and how much possession they're going to have of the ball and chances they're most likely going to create. And then, they in the World Cup qualifying group, which they won. They played Portugal twice. Both matches went over this total, a 2-1 win and a 2-2 draw. And both teams scored as well. So another way to play this one possibly is the both teams to score angle. Brazil, like I said, they're just another animal. And I just don't see a way that Serbia is going to keep, Brazil from scoring 1, 2, or heck, Brazil may even get there themselves with 3 goals. And I think once that first one goes in, maybe if this thing goes into the break 0-0, and then maybe into the 60th minute 0-0, all right, now you're at a different situation and the tactics change. But I'm expecting Brazil is going to find a way to net in that first half, and then from there on out, it's going to be a change, and it's going to be go for glory and try to do whatever you have to do. And the only way Serbia is going to be able to do that is to push forward. They're just simply not good enough to stop Brazil defensively. I just don't trust their defense. So I'm going the opposite. I'm going to go over 2.5 goals. I just think that they can't rely on that defensive side, and I think both teams will find their way in here. Serbia is too good to me also to stay off the score sheet in this game, so I like the over 2.5 pretty strongly here.
Nick Borrman, WagerTalk.com. And Nick, listen, I'm listening to you. I'm listening to Kev, and this is why I just didn't have an opinion on this game or on any of the games today, because you both make points that I agree with. As Kev says, you look at Brazil's lineup up and down, and on that bench, you're like, these guys are going to score goals. And then, much like what you're saying, Brazil, if the Brazil gets that first one in the first half, the game likely opens up. And my thought was the same thing on Argentina, and they're up 1-0, and early on, and you're thinking they're going to roll in this game, and then the game finishes 2-1 for Saudi Arabia. It's the unlikeliest of results. And this is why I'm looking forward to seeing this game and just seeing how it actually plays out. So we'll see which one of you guys comes out on the right end of it. Pavlos, you get the final word on Brazil and Serbia.
Okay, I'm going to start off by saying that I do not care who wins in this occasion, simply because you'll see what my play is. However, you guys made some great points about this stacked roster that Serbia have. Yes, every star player. They do have a lot of star players in this squad, actually, and they do have a lot of players who can, facilitate the game. They can throw good passes. They can play good defense. Especially their midfield is very, very stacked. They have a lot of opportunities, a lot of solutions from the bench. If something goes wrong, they have several. Let's say possible substitutions that they can make in that midfield that will really keep them afloat in this match against Brazil, and of course in the other group stages, along with in the other matches along with Switzerland and Cameroon. So this is their hardest match of the group. So even a draw would be more than welcome here. So I do think this is going to be a very physical game, because Brazilians are going to be like, oh, look at this trick and look at that trick, and Serbians are going to probably destroy them with a heavy tackle, all-out brawl. Neymar gets a yellow card. So long story short, I like cards, but that's not my play here. My play is both teams to score. I do expect Brazil to score at least once against this just bad Serbian defense. Okay, but as Nick said, or was it Kevin? I don't remember. I think it was Nick that said that Serbia, and that's always the case whenever there is a huge favorite in a match, the underdog doesn't feel that much pressure, and that makes them dangerous. A lot dangerous. So I think that Serbia have the profile to hurt Brazil. Again, Brazil had a stellar defense in the World Cup qualifiers, but this is a totally different beast. This is a World Cup. Serbia are coming here with a roster that's, everybody says that it's the best roster they've had in years, and they're going to want to make it count. So I do think that Serbia are kind of underrated here, and the prices on both teams to score are really nice. I like them. So in this occasion, I'm taking both teams to score at -110.
All right.
I don't care who
like
wins,
it, Pavlos. And best of luck on that play. So let's get before we close off the show, let's get a recap of the Serbia-Brazil game. Nick is on over 2.5. Pavlos is on both teams to score -110. And Kevin is going mano a mano with Nick and taking the under and picking up the plus money in that one. Guys, I want to mention one more time the buy one, get one special. These guys put a ton of work into their plays. So if you want to head over to WagerTalk and Sports Memo, you can pick up a month of soccer and you'll get a month for free. So that is a great deal, $199, and you get 2 months of soccer. That'll take you right into the new year and get you right through the World Cup as well too. So head over to WagerTalk.com and Sports Memo, one of the cappers on the show, and you'll find it on their page. Obviously, Thursday's Thanksgiving Day in the U.S., so there will be no show, but we will be back on Tuesday with more previews of the World Cup as we enter match day 2 of the World Cup, guys. So we appreciate you all tuning in. We wish you the best of luck over the next few days until we get to next Tuesday's show. And we'll see you back next Tuesday, 10 a.m. on Stoppage Time.
Whether you are a current WagerTalk TV subscriber, a fan of the extensive amount of free betting information we release, or a client of one of our incredible lineup of handicappers at WagerTalk or Sports Memo, we thank you. Thanksgiving is a holiday loaded with traditions, and we started one of our traditions years ago. Get a 7-day all sports, all access from any handicapper for just $69. That's under $10 per day and just $10 more than a 3-day all access. So whether you're traveling, have a house full of relatives, or just sitting back relaxing with an incredible week of sports, you can do so with the convenience of a 7-day pass. There's no coupon needed, and you can choose as many services as you'd like. This Thanksgiving special will be available through Cyber Monday, November 28th, all for just $69. Thank you again for being part of the WagerTalk and Sports Memo family.